Steady love. Ooh, steady love.
Hello,
Good night.
good evening. It's great to see you. It's been a while, but we're back with episode 3 of Love Bites, the series that we are running during this month of February as we celebrate love. For those of you who may not know, we are
Gabriel.
and Denise
Yes.
J. Charles, and we have been dealing with relationships, counseling, coaching, presenting workshops, seminars, doing lots of media events and other types of events to help us all solidify our relationships, to strengthen us as we all pursue what we hope is a strong love. Yes. So this evening, we did promise you that we would come with a very exciting topic. We're here this evening,
Yes.
and we're going to be discussing with you taking your bedroom from boring to best practice. Taking your bedroom from boring to best practice. Now, what happens in a marriage relationship? I just want to give it some context. What happens in a marriage relationship to cause boredom in the bedroom? We did speak in one of our previous episodes. I think is it our last episode we spoke about igniting the flame in the marriage, which was a kind of general discussion about not allowing our marriages to slide and become boring, etc. We spoke about being intentional and all of that. So we want to tweak that a bit, and we're bringing this now to the bedroom. And for those who are still wondering what we're talking about when we say the bedroom, in case you don't know, we're talking obviously about the sexual relationship between a husband and a wife. How can we make this relationship as couples more exciting, more dynamic? Because when we think of our marriage relationship, and we think about the fact that life can happen, as we've said before, and our relationship can grow
Dwindle.
sour, it can dwindle, interest can wane, it becomes humdrum. The very same thing can happen in the bedroom, or the very same thing can happen with respect to our sexual intimacy. And those of us who are advocates of marriage and advocates of commitment and advocates of strong love, as we are, we all know that God created sex as a very special bond between a husband and wife, and it is something that we need to pay very special attention to. It is not something that we should let slip and slide and just take it for granted. So with that understanding, what are the types of things that couples need to do to ensure that their sexual relationship remains fiery or
Fiery.
and doesn't descend into boredom? Now, I am
Doesn't
not
descend into smoke.
well, maybe ascend. You talk about the smoke, keeping it hot, but you don't want it to pale and
You
become
want it to flame.
to flame, to remain inflamed and interesting and exciting. Now, the reality is we're not being unrealistic, okay? We've been married for a long time. We've been married for 40 years, as we love to say. It's the truth. And we know that marriages go through seasons. As individuals, we go through various seasons. We know as women particularly, I know you sisters out there can identify with me. We go through many seasons with our bodies. We go through our childbearing years, in our 20s and 30s for most of us, 40s, even some women are having their children later. And then we go through perimenopause, which are several years leading up to the menopause, not 1 or 2 years, but several, as much as 10. And these things can cause mood swings, changes in the body, etc. You have your children. Men go through their own changes as well. Never mind, they don't like to talk about it. Their testosterone might go up and down.
Yeah.
We know men tend to still love sex and they're still very physical, etc. But men go through changes as well. So there are things that can happen to us. And as a result, sometimes people resort to just putting their sex on the back burner and not having any sex at all. And I talk about this in one of my articles, actually, which does influence what we're going to be talking about this evening. On my blog, I've been talking to you about my blog, Love Story 246 at wordpress.com. And I do talk about the fact that some people just go the autopilot response. They just allow things to run, and they don't, It's just a physical release. Let's just do the bare minimum and that's
That's
it. That was not planned. Some go the sexist response. Oh, they like, oh, we've had our children. We're mature now. We're serving the Lord. You know,
Yes.
that's all behind us now. So
Yes.
you don't have to worry about sex too much. And
Especially the ladies.
and that happens, unfortunately, with the women. And then there are those who, you know, they make excuses. Oh, I have a headache tonight. I'm not feeling well. You know, or they hold on to things that happen in the relationship and they allow these things to cause their sex life to dwindle and die because there's no forgiveness, there's no discussion
Right.
about things, and
Communication
it
have
affects the
gone
intimacy.
out of the door.
Yeah. Then, unfortunately, there are those who, this is what I call the roving reporter response. These are people who, instead of working on their marriage and working on their relationship and trying to repair whatever damage needs to be repaired, whether it's directly sexual or it's otherwise and it's affecting the sex, they look to other people. They become connected to other people, whether emotionally, physically, sexually, as a means of replacing what they're missing in their bedroom, in their marriage bed. And that is not the response, okay? So, what do we do to ensure that we have what I call, I want to have great sex with you response? You know, that's what we want to keep going in our marriage relationship. We know that seasons will come and go. Life does have its changes. You will go through things as a woman. If you're listening to me as a man, you will go through things. You know, you will go through things as a couple. So what do you do?
Actually, hon, you know, while you were speaking, something just came to mind.
Okay.
When you're building
Mm-hmm.
a home,
Mm-hmm.
you use sand, stone,
Mm-hmm.
and cement.
Yeah.
Now, if you leave out the cement
Mm-hmm.
and you just have the sand and the stone,
Mm-hmm.
nothing is going to happen. It's just going to be sand and stone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that's going to make it come together
Mm-hmm.
is the cement.
Having
So-
everything.
So if you mix sand and stone with water, it's going to remain sand and stone. But
Yes.
anytime you put cement in it, it's going to solidify
Comes
everything.
together.
That comes. Yes.
Yes.
That's the way sex works.
That's excellent. That's an excellent analogy, Gabriel. You know, and he's really good with analogies. That's an excellent analogy. Actually, in my book, How to Have Mind-Blowing Sex Without Losing Your Brain, I actually meant to bring it on camera tonight, but forgot. With that book, I do talk about sex as a sexual glue. I talk about
Yes, you did.
the fact that sex is the glue
Yeah.
that holds a relationship together. And I know there will be people that will say, but what happens when you get older? What happens when things aren't working as they used to work, or you're ill, or something happens to cause the sex life to wane? As I said, things will happen. But what I often say is that we must seek as married people to preserve the sex, what I call the sexualization of the marriage.
Yes.
And that does not always mean having straight up intercourse, penis, vagina, as we know it. It just means always being sexual, always connecting sexually,
Yeah.
building on your physical intimacy, and that could be done in so many ways. You know, it's not just one way. When we think about the sexual relationship in the marriage, it is not just one thing that we do.
No.
It's a whole gamut of things. It's a
Yes.
whole continuum of things that we can do to preserve the sexiness and the sexualization, as I like to say, in the marriage relationship. But let's look at these points quickly. We think it is important that, especially when you see things going south, it's not happening the way you want it to happen, as regularly as you would like it to happen. Schedule lovemaking. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I know that we fall victim, as it were. We are swayed by what we see on the rom-coms and the movies and so on. We see the lovely, long, steamy sex scenes, you know, and we see people going all out.
That's Hollywood.
They do the petals and the bubble bath. And I'm not saying we can't do these
Yes,
things.
we
It's not
can.
just Hollywood, honey. It can be real life as well, you know, as we have experienced it as well.
Yes,
You know,
we
you
have.
can go that full gamut, but it is not every sexual encounter that will be like that. You know, so it is important, if you realize that time is running out on you, or you have small children, or even teenagers who are always around, it is important that you
To
find time to
schedule.
schedule your sexual relationship.
Definitely.
I don't have to explain. You can find times when people are sleeping, when they're out of the house, you
Take them
know,
to granny.
when the children are elsewhere, you know, but find time to schedule that special time with each other, okay? And it is also important to get creative.
Yes.
Do not allow the humdrum of life to just affect your sexual relationship. Yes, life can be taxing, life can be boring, and it is wonderful if after a hard day's work or after a hard week at the office or after working hard perhaps in some charity or club that you're in, giving your all to other pursuits, whether it be exercising at the gym or playing a game of tennis or whatever you do in your downtime. Sometimes we put so much energy into these other pursuits that we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
It would be great if we would bring that same energy
To
to
the
our
relationship.
sex lives,
Yeah.
to our relationships. That intentionality, as we
Yeah.
always like to say. So plan for it. So you plan, you schedule. You also think of being creative.
Very.
You know, yes, for the most part, because you live at home with other people and you have children and so on, you might end up spending most of the time you do have sex. You might end up doing it in your bedroom all the time. And I understand that. But what can you bring to your bedroom to make it special? We can think of music, having wonderful music to accompany you as you make love, having candlelight in your room, having candles, having oils, you know, putting fragrance on your body
fragrance.
when you come out of the bath at night before you go to bed. You know,
Yes.
having a special lingerie
Oh,
to
dear.
wear.
Put away those old boxers. And,
Yes, guys.
And
Invest in something that looks sexy for your wife, guys. Don't just think that it's just her to look that way. You can buy some silk boxers. You can put a lovely sheet on the bed. No, I'm not saying you're going to do these things every
all
week.
the time. Yeah.
We understand that life
Happens.
right? But it is wonderful and it is very important if you can find time to carve out these special occasions. It might be
Yes.
great to do these things away from home. As I said last time in our last episode, you might be able to do a weekend somewhere and carve out these special moments. But if you can find time, even if it is once a month or once every 2 months, to make
Something special.
something special out of your sexual intimacy, not just allow it to be humdrum. And we speak these things, when we're saying these things to you, we're also saying them to ourselves, you know, because we find it's important, because you can get carried away, as I said, with the humdrum of life, and we don't want that to impact your sexual relationship. This is something we love to advocate, and I think I spoke about this in our very first episode, but with respect to sex, we spoke about touching and
Yes.
kissing every morning, and we weren't linking that to sex in that conversation. But what we're saying now is that if you have a touchy-feely
Touchy-feely
relationship,
relationship.
you know, you're
Yeah.
always touching each other, you might rub his head, you might rub his beard, you know, he might kiss you on the forehead, you hold hands when you're watching
Kiss on the
TV,
eyes.
whatever. Have that kind of connection, a physical connection. It might be something that you do, you know, it might be something that you don't even think about. It might be inadvertent because you all are so physically connected, you don't realize how much you touch each other, but you just do, because it's a quality of your
Yeah,
relationship.
that's
It could be
right.
fun, it could be flirtatious, it could be something you do while she's going around the house cleaning, or while he's at the sink, or he's doing something in the car. You know, you just be
Yes.
that physical,
Yeah.
have that physical emphasis in your relationship where you're touchy, I like to say touchy-feely,
Yeah.
you know, and keep that quality going. And
It-
that does add pizzazz, it adds
I was
fire.
just going to say that.
Yeah?
I was just going to say
It,
that.
it adds something special.
It prepares you.
That's
Oh,
right.
Come on.
That's right. It's a great preparation too, guys. I don't know if you know of the book Sex Begins in the Kitchen, written by, not sure who it was written by, but it's a very popular book. And he talks about the fact that don't wait until you get to the bedroom or to the sexual space to prepare your partner. Particularly, this was for men. You know, it's very important to prepare your wife throughout the day. Be nice to her. You know, compliment her. When she goes out of her way to dress well, she's going to work, she's going out with the girlfriends, or she's just going to town or going into the supermarket, but she looks nice. Let her know that she looks nice. Let her know that she smells nice. Squeeze her, hug her. You know, and women reciprocate this as well. Be open to your man when he's physical with you. He might come and, you know, rub you here, pull you there, poke you there.
Oh.
And sometimes women like to just knock their hands away. That's not very nice. Sometimes a man is just being himself, who he is and what he loves to do, because he's physical and he loves the physical. He loves to see you. He's turned on by you, you know.
Yes.
I love the fact that my husband desires me. I don't see it as something to shoo him away about,
better
you know.
not.
You know, I think that it is great if your partner desires you, ladies. Don't try to get him to stop it, because if he does stop it, you're gonna wonder. I wonder why he no longer finds me attractive. You know, so encourage it, and you reciprocate as well. Men love the attention. I can guarantee you that.
Yes, we do.
Communication is really, really important when it comes to solidifying the sexual relationship and making it more spicy, making it, you know, taking it to the next level. Because, and I'm not just talking about communicating about sex. Now that in itself is another thing all by itself. It's amazing that people will have sex, but they won't talk about it. So if they don't like it, if it's not to their pleasing, if they wish their partner would do something that he or she's not doing, people won't say, because a lot of people are uncomfortable articulating their sexual desires, especially to the partner that they're having the sex with. It's amazing. You know, people just find it very difficult to talk about sex. And I guess this has to do with how we've treated sex over the years, the taboo topic that it has been. And even though we're a lot more open today, people still find it challenging to speak about what they want in the bedroom or what they want in their sex lives to the very person that they're committed to. So it's important to communicate about sex.
And words opens the door.
They do, they open the door.
Yeah.
But it's also important to talk about other aspects of the relationship that may be bothering you. So perhaps your husband is doing something that you don't like. He's leaving the toilet seat up all the time. He repeatedly leaves his shoes at the door, or his
Rocks on the
socks,
floor.
or his socks are always knocking around the bedroom on the floor. I'm just thinking of tedious things. You know, she may be doing something, guys, that you don't like either, and you're not really telling her, but you're acting out, or you're allowing it to impact the intimacy. Or if you do have sex, it's just a physical thing. There's no emotional connection because you're not able to speak words of love, or you're not able to tell each other how you really feel about each other in those moments. And it's important that we try to have a relationship that, a sexual relationship that, yes, we know that it is focused on the pleasure, but there isn't just the pleasure. There's also the emotional and spiritual connection
definitely.
that comes out of it. And this is made even easier when we communicate and we talk about the things that are bothering us, and we seek to make those things better. And the last point, guys, I know we're a bit longer than we normally would be, but the last point is have lots of sex.
You forgot something.
What was that?
Sometimes you must have something called a quickie.
Oh yeah, that is one of my points in the article.
Oh, come
Yeah,
on.
my husband would remember
Yes.
that. Yes, right. Way back when I was talking about the long, steamy scenes that
Right.
we're accustomed to seeing in the movies.
Yeah.
Don't think that that's the only way. There's space for quickies. You know, there's space for those that 5 minute, you know, or less. You know, you're not going to do this all the time, but there is room for it. There's also room for makeup sex. I didn't have this in this article.
Definitely.
I wrote a whole article on that by itself.
That works.
You know, having makeup sex. I don't advocate using sex to quell an argument, or, you know, you don't want to discuss things, so you have sex instead. That's not what I'm saying. There are times when you will use sex as the vehicle for opening up to talk, okay? And I'm not saying that sex should be abusive in any way. If there's abuse going on in the relationship,
especially, right.
I'm not saying that you should
Right.
engage
Don't
in
use
sex
it as a tool.
as a
where-
tool.
yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But there are times when there's a little petty disagreement, and sex can bring you back together. It can be a space for healing that allows you then to discuss and talk about that thing, whatever it was that has been bothering the two of you, or bothering one of you. So there is room for makeup sex in your relationship. As my husband said just now, the quickie. And the very last thing I mentioned just now, when he interrupted me, was having lots of sex.
Lots.
Scientific studies actually prove
Listen,
that the
guys,
more
listen.
sex we have, the more sex we want. You heard that, ladies, particularly? The more sex we have, the more sex we want. So there's no better way to jumpstart a flagging sex life than to actually jump in there and have sex. And because sex, as we spoke about in our very first episode, when we spoke about the hormones, the oxytocin and the dopamine, those pleasure hormones, those bonding hormones, those feel good hormones, they do come about when we have intercourse and when we have a climax. They bond us closer together,
Yeah.
they bind us closer together. And that's why a lot of people talk about sex and soul ties, and that's another discussion. But the fact that when we have sex with someone, it is not casual.
No.
People think that sex can be casual, but it actually can't be casual because God didn't design sex to be casual. Sex is a spiritual encounter,
Very much.
and that is why it was designed for marriage, because
So it's
it,
not
it
only physical.
brings two people together in a very deep way and deepens and strengthens their relationship.
Yeah.
It's a space for commitment, So,
And it keeps you looking young.
so they say. So if you've been having some challenges with your sexual relationship, we want you to take some time and listen to this podcast, this little video. Listen to it again.
Yes.
Go through those points that we went over just now about how
And
you
adjust.
can make your sex life more interesting
Yeah.
and make the necessary changes that you need so that your relationship, not just your sexual relationship, but that your marriage relationship would be better, would be stronger, because we are all about advocating for a stronger love,
Yes.
a strong love, a deep love. So it's been nice talking to you.
And this is just another love bite.
Another
Yeah.
episode of Love Bites. Stay tuned for what perhaps will be our final episode in this February series. Of course, we will be coming back with
Yes.
some more, from some new tidbits from time to time. But this will be the end of this particular series. The next time we do our episode 4. So thanks for joining us for this episode, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye-bye.
Have a great one. Have a great one.
Steady love.